All right. As I had mentioned in the open, the pitmaster of Killer Hogs Barbecue Team, the creator of How to Barbecue Right. You can find him on a whole bunch of different social media channels, also on YouTube. We race to the hotline. And welcome, newly minted first Tuesday of the month guest, Malcolm Reed. Malcolm, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Greg. How's it going on your end,
Absolutely fabulous, Malcolm. Appreciate you coming in tonight and doing this here on the first Tuesday. Can you activate your camera by chance?
Sure.
Let's do this. Let's see that handsome devil. Here he comes. Oh,
how about that, man?
Sexy as ever, just like I remember. Malcolm, again, appreciate you coming in for the first Tuesday of the month segment here. So, I mean, obviously, and it is almost beyond approach or reproach as far as an impact that you are having in social media. For instance, I put a story on trying to promote the fact that you're going to be on. You share it on Instagram. I think I gained over 100 followers over the last handful of hours. I mean, the way you move the needle is kind of unparalleled in the industry right now, and it's certainly a tribute to your success and kind of the fervent belief that your fans and followers have, which is something that we'll get into here a little bit later. But for the folks that maybe aren't familiar with Malcolm Reed or How to Barbecue Right, so forth, just a little quick background on you, where you came from, where you live now, and then we can get into more of the live fire stuff.
Well, I'm from South Haven, Mississippi, which is right outside of Memphis, and currently I live down in Hernando, which is a couple of exits down. So it's still the same area. But I got into competition barbecue just growing up. We had our local contest, South Haven Spring Fest, has been around for years, and we grew up. Me and my brother grew up going as kids, and we just got into the competition barbecue, had a lot of fun, and we ended up starting to take it serious there for a while, and it's turned into quite the career and story for me, I guess.
Now, was that mostly Memphis Barbecue Network stuff down there, or was it FBA, or what was the sanctioning body?
Well, when we first got started, it was all Memphis and May sanctioned, and then they had a change over to the Memphis Barbecue Network several years back, and that's primarily what you see in this area. Now, KCBS is so spread all over that we have a ton of KCBS competitions, and from where we're at, we can cook just about every weekend somewhere, whether it's KCBS, MBN, or SCA, or even go over to the Georgia to the GBA. So there's no shortage of contests to cook.
Certainly, you are a well-accomplished pitmaster, Malcolm, but growing up and being where you're from, I mean, was live fire and barbecue just a way of life?
Well, where we are, it's a lot of our summer holidays or just get-togethers are centered around the grill, or throwing some meat on and getting a bunch of people together, whether it's friends, family, or what have you. But I grew up around barbecue. I don't think anybody in my family took it near as serious as me, but everybody had a good recipe, or they thought they could cook ribs better than the next guy. So that's kind of how it is.
Malcolm Reed joining me here on the show. Let me give you some contact info for him in case you're interested in hunting him down. HowToBBQRight.com, his website, on social media. HowToBBQRight on Instagram and Twitter. YouTube, How to BBQ Right. Facebook, How to BBQ Right. So we've at least kept everything the same. And I know once you reach like certain levels, you can go ahead and designate your own stuff. So keeping the name tight and similar, key on social media success, right?
Yeah, we used to do a lot of it was the Killer Hog stuff, and I've kind of changed to where that's kind of just the competition side of things. And I never had an idea. Rochelle or I, my wife, never had the idea that How to Barbecue Right would grow into what it is. But we just kind of took that philosophy where we started. One day we just said, okay, we're going to call everything How to Barbecue Right, and that's how people can find us. So. And we came up with that name just for lack of a better name at the time.
I mean, it's kind of the best name, though. So you have somebody that really knows what they're doing. They're an accomplished person in the backyard, but then you've also seen a tremendous amount of success on the competition trail. So you have a bunch of different vantage points to look from. So the name, while it might seem kind of, let's use it as a placeholder, I mean, it's pretty apropos.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the way I feel about it now. I mean, I've always said that the only way to not barbecue right is to not barbecue. So there's all kinds of ways to do it, and that's what I've always, I've been one of these guys that's kind of a student of barbecue. I don't think I know I definitely don't know everything there is to know, but I like sharing what I learn as I go. And I think that's what people relate to when they follow us on social media or they go to our website or blog or anything. It's just a place to where, people can learn as I'm learning.
Malcolm, when we talk about the social media stuff here, and especially, I guess, YouTube is really where you found quite a niche there. How many subscribers do you have on YouTube right now?
Wow, I think I did look earlier because I figured you would ask, and we're almost to 500,000. It's like 498 and some change. So we're gonna hit that 500,000 mark pretty soon.
So as you're competing and you realize that there is the internet and you have YouTube and a bunch of other different platforms, do you naturally gravitate to YouTube because there's a video aspect of it and it's like a Google-based company and the exposure is going to be there? Or how do you gravitate to YouTube and then start to build that whole ramp up?
Well, we found it really accidentally. Back when we were a young barbecue team, we had a company approach us as a sponsor, and they were giving us just some swag. And we weren't anybody at the time, but they sent us these little flip cameras, and they wanted us to record some what it's like at a barbecue contest and send it to them. Well, when we did that, we was like, sure, send us a camera, we'd love to. It was one of these little flip cams, and we recorded some footage, but then we realized you can't email it; it's way too big. And so their solution was, well, you can send the camera back to us, or we can try to figure out something, because even Dropbox wasn't around then. So my wife, she was in the internet marketing field, she said, I think there's this platform called YouTube, and we could upload these videos and we could share it with them, and they could just pull it down from there. And that's how it all started. At first, it was just some private stuff that we did for them, and we decided we had started a newsletter just about basic competition stuff. And
I remember that.
I did a few videos on I think some of the first ones was like how to trim chicken, how to trim a brisket. I did like eight videos. We were raw, man. We didn't know how to edit. We didn't know anything. We were just capturing footage, and we just stayed with it over the years. It wasn't that we had a real big following at first. It was just that we were consistent.
When do you realize that you are on to something? And also, when do you decide to start stepping up the production game? Because I would imagine at some point, people are anonymity in the internet is a great thing, right? You can be the toughest guy in the world. So you're watching Malcolm Reed do some stuff. He's giving you great information, but maybe the wind blows or you can't hear him that well. So in the comments, your sound sucks, or you need to buy this, or you need to step that game up. So when do you decide, or at what point do you decide to start adding some production value to the videos?
Well, we just learned as we went, and we were watching other videos, and I would go, and man, YouTube's one of those things where I go to it to learn stuff just in my everyday life.
Right.
If I need to learn how to change the headlight on my truck, I'm going to go to YouTube and see how to do it. And so that's what we started doing. We realized that we needed to get better. We needed a light setup, and then we started with some basic stuff, and then we needed editing software, and we just, it was kind of, I guess, trial and error and luck and determination, all the above.
Are you surprised that almost 500,000 followers later, that the building of an audience is still there, the keeping of the audience is still there, and that people are still in tune with, I guess, what is, certainly you do some competition-related videos, but a lot of the stuff is backyard. So you're really kind of capturing, or you're really in that wheelhouse of where, and we'll talk about competition here in a second, where maybe competition might be trickling down a little bit, but the backyard game is really growing.
Well, that was one thing that we kind of noticed early on. There's only so many categories in competition I could do a video on.
Right.
So if I was going to continue doing that, and I was just doing newsletters at the time, just a weekly recipe, and then we decided to start filming them. That's kind of how it went. But it was for the lack of, there's not enough, there's only so many comp videos I could do, so I had to do something else. And people started liking them, and it's always been one of those things where it's positive, and people say really appreciate the videos, and the recipes turn out great for them, and it's just a way for me to to kind of give back, to share what I'm doing, and if it makes somebody else cook good, man, I'm proud of it.
Are you surprised that you are? This is a weird question. Are you surprised you have as many followers as you have right now?
I'm totally shocked, because I mean, I treat it as one of these things where in my video style, I'm not trained on anything, and not even I'm not a chef or have any video experience. I just treat it like my buddies are sitting there in front of me, and I'm we're just cooking. And so that's always been kind of how I am. So now, even when I see that 500,000 people are on there, it's still just like it's my buddies. So
What was
it's
the hard?
crazy. It really is crazy.
What's the hardest thing that you've had to learn to not do while you do these videos?
Oh man, I I don't know about. I mean, you could say not screw up, but I always screw up. So
That's the
I
best
mean,
part, right?
now see, maybe that's why we got better with the editing and stuff because at least it makes me not look so bad. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's better. It's better to be yourself and to talk to the camera just like I'm talking to you here, instead of trying to take on this fake persona or be something I'm not. That's the main thing that I would say. The hardest thing to learn, or the most important thing to learn, is just be yourself when you do it. You're going to find your voice. You're going to find what you want to do. Just be yourself.
So is How to Barbecue Right a company, and is this whole thing sustaining you guys with a full-time income, or do you guys have like real jobs outside of this, and then this is also a nice secondary?
Well, right now it's mine and Rochelle's full time.
Wow.
I hope it stays that way. We've had pretty good growth over the years, and we we've been fortunate that where, I mean, I didn't have products to sell, when I first started, but then we kind of transitioned into making some barbecue rubs and sauces and things like that. And it's grown into a pretty good sized business for us. So I would love to see it continue to grow. That's our plan. I don't want to go back to work.
How many hours in a day are you putting in on everything related to the show and products and all that other stuff?
Oh man, 26.
So is that the blessing and the curse of having,
Yeah,
YouTube job?
We work from home, and our offices are home, so we never leave. We're always together, and it's always work no matter what. So we have to. I mean, that's how I'm just coming off a long break. We take the winter off just to decompress, because if we didn't, we would go crazy. Because it's such a hectic schedule, and people think that, oh yeah, you're just barbecuing and filming in your backyard, but man, there's so much more to it than that.
Since you are with your wife all the time, as you had said, and I had asked Susie Bullock this question a couple weeks ago from Hey Grill Hey, because her and her husband Todd are pretty tight all the time. How do you guys keep it together and not, if you have to be together all the time to make this thing work, is there alone time at all, or do you just have some kind of a healthy system worked out to where you guys can just be together all the time and you don't get on each other's nerves?
Hey, I guess I'm lucky that she's fortunate enough to put up with me all the time. I'm sure she feels that she needs a long time, but I mean, I don't know, man. I guess stars aligned. I don't know, what the man upstairs was thinking when he put us together, but it worked.
Malcolm Reed joining me here on the show. HowToBBQRight.com, his website, also on YouTube. How to BBQ Right. Malcolm, let's transition over to a little bit of competition stuff, because I know you're into that. Where are you currently seeing competition right now? I've been under the maintenance that it's starting to trend down a little bit. Obviously, in some of the bigger sanctioning bodies, there's a lot more verbal hoopla than I've seen in years past. Some of the other sanctioning bodies are holding firm. Maybe some might be dropping off. But where do you see the state of competition barbecue in general right now?
Well, there's definitely always going to be some upset people or something, but I think that as a whole, it's pretty strong. I mean, people are doing a lot of competitions, but the thing is, we just have, as cooks, we have so many choices now. I mean, it's like I can go cook KCBS, I can cook SCA, or any of these other sanctioning bodies on any given weekend, and so it probably hurts it as a whole. It definitely hurts the bigger ones that are losing some money on it, but the new guys that are coming up and replacing, they're booming. I mean, I know, just take the SDA, for example. They're growing all over the world, not just in the United States.
Yeah.
And they've come on strong. So really, I think, competition barbecue is in a really good state right now. There's just so many options that I guess it makes it hard if you're trying to turn a profit at it. I mean, the downside to it I see is that it got to a point where it's costing so much to do a KCBS contest. And the money factor alone, when someone come in and figured out that you can do it for less money, less cost to the cooks, that's why it's grown so much. So I think there's going to be some some shrinkage on their fact, but then it'll probably balance itself out, and it'll be as popular as ever.
Malcolm, we got Valentine's Day coming up next week. From a how to barbecue right standpoint, do you have any Valentine's Day dinner recipes for the lovers out there?
Well, one of Shell's favorites that I do for her is a fillet that I top with some crab meat, and then I make like a little béarnaise sauce to go over it. Usually do some asparagus to go with it.
Little Oscar style, yeah.
Yeah, got like filet Oscar, and then I usually open a couple bottles of wine, turn the lights down, maybe light a candle, kind of try to be a little romantic as a barbecue man can be. And I mean, you can't go wrong when you're doing steak, so that's always my go-to.
What's your general rule of thumb on how to cook a steak?
Man, I'm one of these guys that likes a medium rare. I like a hot grill to do it. A 16-ounce steak, if I'm doing like a ribeye or 12 ounce if I'm doing a strip. If I'm doing a fillet, it's usually about 10 ounces. All of those cook about 2 minutes on each side, then turn them, get 2 minutes on them, and then I usually try to raise them up off the heat or move them to the side and watch that internal temperature just to nail it where I'm going to finish it. And that's the secret to winning these SEA contests too. Get your grill marks on them, move them over to the offside, get them off the heat a little bit, and watch them slow. That way you don't overshoot. I do like to finish them with a little bit of compound butter, and that can be anything you like. I like, a little garlic, a little shallot, maybe a little parsley, a little cracked pepper, and some butter, and then just, kind of let that melt over the top. It gives it a nice little richness with some other flavors. It's really hard to mess up a steak if you do it that way, Greg.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely delicious to me. One last question before I let you go, and appreciate the time, Malcolm. I know you were out duck hunting a little while ago, so are we going to be seeing some duck hunting videos? That question coming in from Smokin' Joe's BBQ pit.
Most definitely. That's what I spent my winter doing, was deer hunting and duck hunting. So I have plenty of duck, plenty of geese, and plenty of deer meat in the freezer. So I'm going to be working on some of those wild game recipes, and I'm definitely going to share them. So just keep an eye out for those.
Have you had farm raised duck before? I've never had duck in my life, and I had these guys on from a company called Duck Char a handful of weeks ago, and they do a moulard duck, which is a cross between I don't know what the hell they were, cross between. But they kept telling me how much like beef it was going to be, and I finally pulled one out, did it over the weekend. Man, I overshot by 5 or 6 degrees, but it still looked, more medium rare plus than medium-ish. It really did taste kind of beefy. Not gamey at all, but way more steaky.
I've had some of that duck before. I've also done some Peking, like whole roasted duck on the smoker. And you're right. It's not a fat. It's not like chicken at all. You're not going to get that flavor from it. It's more red meat. It's more kin red meat. It's best when you cook it to that medium rare side. If you go over with it, that's where people start talking about ducks. Tastes like organ meat. It kind of has a livery flavor to it. That's for any kind of waterfowl. But I did some of the goose I had the other day, and it was just Canada goose. And everybody's told me that you're not going to be able to eat this stuff. It's not any good. But I did it simple. I did it with the high heat beefer that I have. It's like one of these. It's kind of a home based salamander.
Yep.
And I just hit it with some salt and then cooked it just a few minutes on each side. And it's just like you said, it tasted like steak. And I had a couple people over that tried it. They couldn't believe it. I mean,
Malcolm Reed joining me here. He is the new first Tuesday of the month guest. You can find him at howtobbqright.com, also on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media haunts at that same handle. Malcolm, really appreciate the time tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg, and looking forward to next month. We'll see you.
All right, there he is, Malcolm Reed, pitmaster of Killer Hogs, How to BBQ Right, social media maven. Love it.